kids were peering at her from behind their easels. She swore under her breath and dropped the brush into the water pot. The dirty water splashed up onto her apron, and she unhooked it from around her neck, planting it on the stool beside her. She hadn't intended to cause a scene. Miss Alscott, ignoring her, Andrea picked up her bag and weaved her way out of the now silent classroom. Art wasn't particularly a specialty of hers, though she did try, at the insistence of her father. "It will help clear your mind," he said. Yet her mind remained loud and unsettled. Andrea looked down at the hand clutching the leather straps of her bag. There were 3 slithers of bronze blinked back up at her beneath the harsh lighting of the locker-lined corridor. 3 beautiful reminders of what she had done, what she would always be. She pressed her other hand to her forehead. A throbbing pain had begun brewing between her brows, and she clenched her jaw against it. She couldn't remember if she'd taken an ibuprofen before or after this morning's meeting with her father's counsel.